Now with Bitcoin, if I were to make the counter argument, I have to say I agree with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Quite literally the devil's advocate, perhaps. But I think if I were to make the devil's case here, I'd say, well, maybe perhaps not so much the devil. I'd say the vigilante case here is that, okay, you're doing haram anyway, but at least by taking out a loan, you are helping bring the system down. Perhaps that would be the case, but no, I still agree with you, because I think, these things are not haram just because God is choosing to give us hardships. It's not arbitrarily haram. Of course, there are risks involved. Taking out a mortgage is not a walk in the park. Taking out a mortgage means every month you need to be sure that you can make the payment, and you have to live under the stress for 30 years, and you could end up losing your house after having made 15 years of payments or 20 years of payments. It's not a picnic. It is a very difficult thing to do. But yes, I think ultimately with Bitcoin, all of these questions become moot, because with Bitcoin you have the answer. You don't need to, you can rent and just keep stacking sats, and then you'll be able to afford a house. The difficult thing is that without Bitcoin, and this is really when you understand how the system works, and I didn't understand it this much until I really wrote the fiat standard, and why it got very well internalized the idea that Bitcoin is fiat mining. The travesty of fiat for Muslims is that effectively it's a tax on you being a Muslim. Fiat is a tax on being a Muslim, because fiat is forcing everybody who holds money and doesn't get into debt to subsidize everybody who does. And so the rational strategy there is to take out debt, because if you're not taking out debt and if you're saving, you are still participating in riba, because you're holding the money that was created when the other people got into riba. But the difference is that they got a house out of it. You're just paying for the house.
100%.
So you're paying for the house, and your savings are depreciating over time. So if you're trying to save money in the bank account in order to buy a house and saying, I'm not going to get into riba, you're running on a treadmill, because the house just keeps getting further away from you, because the price of the house keeps going up
100%.
and the value of your money keeps going down. And the people who got in at the mortgage managed to get the house at a very low price. So, if I choose to do the halal thing, whereas you choose to take out the mortgage, you buy the house today. I buy the house. I'm hoping to buy the house at 10 years from now. 10 years from now, the money that I'm saving today is going to have depreciated significantly. Whereas the money, and so I'm putting it as savings and it's depreciating, and 10 years from now, the value of the house is going to go up. Whereas on your case, the money that you paid today is already cleared up a part of your mortgage payment. So it is effectively a tax on you being a Muslim. And there are no easy solutions without Bitcoin. And that's why I think it's really imperative for Muslims to start paying attention to Bitcoin, because it's your only way out of this. If you don't use Bitcoin, you are really going to continue to run on this treadmill and not understand why is it that everybody who is in haram and who is in the mortgage, who's taking out loans, is able to afford a house, whereas it is incredibly hard for me to do it.
I mean, just to reinforce what you're saying. So, if you can imagine, back to the issue of the house, it was an excellent tweet that I saw of a guy who decided to DCA Bitcoin $500 a month since 2017, and up until August, because when I saw it, he had accumulated about 4.3 Bitcoin. That's amazing if you think about it. $500 a month since 2017, or I think it was 16 or 17, and he's acquired 4 Bitcoin. So that's in a space of 5 years, 4 Bitcoin. Guaranteed in the next probably 3 to 4 years, that's enough to buy a house. So there, like you said, there actually isn't an alternative. There isn't really an alternative to escape this treadmill if you're adamant in holding Bitcoin, fiat. Fiat is just it's an ongoing tax. Whoever wants to hold it is suffering the loss of value, the constant loss of value, and you're guessing you're subsidizing those who've taken advantage of the loan. The only way out of it is to exit that system, and you find that Bitcoin allows you to do the opposite. I mean, a case could be made loosely that maybe with gold you can technically do a similar thing, but in terms of I guess acquiring a home or whatnot, or increasing your value, you don't have that same kind of premium that you hope that you do with Bitcoin. And maybe that won't remain with Bitcoin. Maybe there will come a point when Bitcoin, the increase in value would plateau. Who knows? But definitely in the long run, there isn't really an option for a Muslim to save, really, if he outside of Bitcoin that I can see. I mean, some might use other shitcoins, but I don't advocate for that. I think the Bitcoin is worse as it's pretty much the same as fiat.
Yeah, I think I'm just running the numbers now in the background. I'm looking at what you could have achieved if you started DCAing Bitcoin in 2016. So you were buying $500 of Bitcoin in October 2016. Until today, that's 7 years of $500 a month. Today, you would have spent $42,500, but you would have $224,800. So that's 8.2 Bitcoin. Yes, the return on investment is 428.96%. Now let's try and do the same thing with the S&P 500, and that's done relatively pretty well. Let's see, monthly investment $500. All right, so now I've done the numbers for the S&P 500 as well, and if you had, you would have invested $42,000 as well, and you would have a grand total of $56,084. So $56,000 if you had invested in the S&P 500, which has done relatively well during that period, versus $224,000 if you had invested in Bitcoin over that period. And if you just held on to your dollars, you'd only have 42. And if you bought gold, I don't quite know what it is, but it's going to be closer to 42 than the 56 of the S&P 500, and definitely nowhere near the return on Bitcoin. So this is really, I think, the key thing to understand. The only way for you to beat the fiat inflation, which is at the heart of the usury that you want to stay away from as a Muslim, is Bitcoin. That's the only way that you can get ahead. $42,000 can be converted into $224,000 by just stacking. So definitely a case to be made there.